everyone. I can see you all joining there. Just bear with me a second. I'm just going to push us live onto Facebook as well. Let's talk about clarity, something we could all do right now. The current world is changing so rapidly that it causes one to compare, compete, or even get confused. How do we navigate life effectively through change and yet step into a fulfilling, satisfying life? Well, clarity is the key. It's the future of personal authority. Finding clarity has become a necessity, not just a nice to have. Just look at like shooting an arrow. We pull back to find clarity so that it can propel forward with speed. More than ever, we need to look within to find that clarity. So COVID-19 has given us this opportunity to settle and find clarity that we need to create the future we actually want. Clarity can free us from comparing ourselves with others. It will help us move past our doubts to step into our destiny. So the person that's going to find us and help us find that clarity is the person that I'm going to introduce you to now. So Ruth Saw is an international bestseller, a best-selling author, speaker, and clarity expert. As a Gallup certified strength coach, she firmly believes and has witnessed that clarity is power. Having lived and worked in different cultures, including the US and Asia Pacific in her corporate career, she realizes that regardless of culture, people will flourish when they know who they are, when they find clarity. She herself found clarity and freedom in pursuing her passion despite being an introvert, and she is now dedicated to helping others find their clarity. So please put your virtual hands together for Ruth. Welcome, Ruth.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming. I don't take it lightly because I'm sure nowadays we have been on Zoom so much. Sometimes we get Zoom fatigue. But the fact that you are here, I really want to acknowledge you for investing in yourself and for taking time for this session. My name is Ruth, but before I begin, I'd like to actually get to know you because I want to make it interactive so that it is practical and it's something that you can take home and apply. So if you would, there is a little quick survey that I'd like you to go to menti.com. Let me share the screen. And I believe we will put it in the chat as well. You should see the website menti.com. All right. So if you can go to use your phone, go to menti.com and you can put in the code 3102227. This allows me to know where you are at and allows me to customize today's presentation for you. So are you currently unemployed and actually just looking for opportunities for work? You know, all these 5 stages I've been through, so I understand. Or are you, happy and loving what you do and you just want to progress in your career? Or perhaps you're stuck in the job grind. You work just to pay your bills, but you don't really like what you do, but you're not sure what else can you move to that you're passionate about. Or perhaps you're working. I see someone there, you're working, you are exploring transition, you have a few options, you roughly know where you're going to transition to. Or perhaps you're already transitioned into a new career just like I have. I have finally transitioned to a career that I absolutely love. So tell me more about yourself, where you're at, and just so that I can customize this for you. Oh, I see there's a lot of people looking into transition. How powerful is it? Because, in this world, the world is changing so much. We must really quickly adapt to be able to adapt to the new environment. Or perhaps we've reached a certain level where we want to do something more significant with all what we love to transition into it. So I see that most of you, are there any more responses? Most of you are working, but you are already exploring transitioning to something else, but perhaps you haven't had a concrete plan, or perhaps you haven't decided what to transit to. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your response. I just have one more question. Okay, so the first group, the most of you are in exploring transitioning, and we have also another group who actually don't like what you do and you're not sure what to transit to. Don't worry, I've been there, I understand. And John was saying that I wrote Clarity is Power is an international bestseller. My mentor told me, write this book for yourself. If it works, then publish it for the world to see. Oh, we have people who love what you do, fantastic. How about bring it to a higher notch? Okay, let's go to the second question now. Second question is this. Oops. Okay, think of a leader that you admire, because we're all leaders, right? Wherever we want to go, we have people who love what you do. Wherever we want to progress into leadership. So think of a leader you admire. It could be someone like Steve Jobs, far away, or someone that you've worked with that you really admire. What are the 3 words that describe this person that you believe makes this person a great leader? Just type in the 3 words that come to you first of mind. What are the 3 words you can think of when you think of a leader that you, oh, humble, motivating, caring, fantastic? What are the other words that you love about the leader that you admire? What do you think makes a leader great? What do you think it is important in this current environment? Okay, we can see that caring is winning. We have empathy. We have vision, inspiring, walk the talk. How true is it? We want people who actually walk the talk. Humble, inspiring, encouraging, fantastic, perseverance, caring. All right, empathy, how great is that? Courageous, that's good. So I'll just leave for a few seconds because it's interesting to see what everybody believes makes a great leader. And then from there, we're going to unpack how are we going to redesign our life, to redesign our life, be it in transition or excelling in what we do. Fantastic. So I see the 3 winners are, well, caring is number 1, encouraging, inspiring. Fantastic. Now, for those who are looking for transition, perhaps some of you are looking for transition and you are thinking, I don't think I'm good enough. I have excelled so long in this particular career. I don't know if I have the skills to be able to transition to another career. Can I encourage you to look at what's in front of you? Because what makes a great leader are attributes, are qualities that are transferable. Skills can be learned, which is why understanding our innate qualities actually helps us to be a better leader. Inspiring. So now the winner is encouraging, empathetic, and inspiring. In fact, I think I saw empathy as well. So that, all right, cool. Yes, empathy as well. All right, that's it for today's questionnaire. So now I'll just share with you, I'll open up my slides to share with you our topic today. Now today I want to share with you, I firmly believe, it's not just the title of the book, I firmly believe clarity is power. And today I would love to share with you how we can redesign our lives through clarity. You know, some of us may think, oh, clarity is so fluffy, but let me just give you a very straightforward example, okay? Now, if you have made up your mind, you want to clear your mortgage as soon as possible. You want to save up whatever money you want to just pay down the mortgage and be debt free. Okay, you've made up that mind. You have debt clear, you have clarity. When you see an exquisite couch for sale, would you buy it? Can you type in the chat? When you see an exquisite couch for sale, would you buy it? No, I see the answer coming out. No, you would not buy it. How long did it take for you to make a decision? A split second. That's what clarity can do. Once we know what we want, we can make decisions in a split second. A lot of us waste time thinking that we are doing due diligence on one decision, the second decision. We think that we're doing our due diligence. Perhaps the first due diligence we need is to take a step back and find that clarity. Then things will become a lot more easier. All right, so just to share a little bit of view myself, I grew up in Singapore. I took on engineering because that was one of the careers that everybody did, but I didn't like engineering. I took up engineering. I landed in a job in procurement. Fortunately, in procurement, it wasn't that technical. And I just climbed up the corporate ladder since 2000. And about 10 years ago, I went to Australia, Sydney, to do my MBA. That was the turning point of my life, because going to a new country with sort of an establishment career, it was difficult because I had no connections. I could not find work. I'm not sure where you're at. I saw that there are some people who are unemployed. That was the turning point of my life. Was that a tough season? It was. But when I look back, I thank God now for that season, because it gave me the chance to really recalibrate and decide what is it that I want for my life. So in Sydney, these are some of the companies I've worked for or I have consulted for. So after I finished my MBA, I created a consulting company. I specialize in procurement consulting, and these are some of my clients that I work for. And I slowly transited into now what I love, an author, speaker, and coach. So now I still pinch myself. I get to speak to thousands of people in New Zealand, in Australia, in Singapore on the topic of clarity. I get to even facilitate in our evening college in church on how to have a strengths-based living, how to live the maximum life that you desire. And it really rewards me when I see, people having that aha moment when they find that clarity. And obviously just to share with you, I failed my English, but I have written 2 books. So I pinch myself now, like dreams do come true. And I'm an introvert and now I'm a speaker. Dreams do come true. So let's just walk with me in this journey to find your clarity. Now, before we talk about personal clarity, I want to share with you a case study that actually happened in my procurement consulting career. So as a procurement consultant, I would often go into big companies, and my projects would always be to save money. And as a consultant, I have to prove the value that I bring very, very quickly. And very often, I'm thrown really terrible projects. So there was this one time I was thrown on this project. There was a multi-million-dollar deal. And it was this company was engaging an airline that was the only airline that flew into the country. So we could not bargain with the airline. It was the only airline. We needed to bring the goods from Australia into this particular country, but this was the only airline. So my client said, Ruth, go and negotiate and get the prices down, because they were paying a lot of money, tens of millions for this airline. So it was almost impossible because they were the only airline, they were monopoly. So why would they reduce their price? People would say, oh, why don't you, be friendly and, but that was not what I wanted to do. So I had to quickly think about what can I do to achieve that objective. And you know what I did? Instead of looking at the supplier, I decided to look internally. So I went to the operations team and looked around and asked them for our requirements, our flights, etc. And you know what I realized? This particular airline flew in 3 times. We engaged the airline to fly in 3 times a week. And I realized that of all the flights, they were never full. So instead of talking to the supplier, I looked internally in the company. This is clarity. Within the company, I realized I could reduce the flights from 3 to 2 flights. And within 3 months, we managed to save how much? $10 million. So I do not know what you're at now, what situation are you at, or what challenge you have at work. Can I encourage you to think differently? Perhaps the solution is within. Perhaps the solution is not out there. The solution is within when you find your clarity within. Okay, so clarity literally helps you to save money and save time. So now let's look at what's the best way for us to find our personal clarity. So as a Gallup certified strengths coach, obviously Gallup has changed my life, which is why I'm a strengths coach now. So how many of you have heard of Gallup Strengths Assessment? Can you type in 1 in the chat if you've heard of Gallup Strengths Assessment? I know a lot of companies do that with their employees. I know Accenture makes sure every one of their employees do the Gallup Strengths Assessment. Gallup is built over the foundation of over 5 decades of research. So if any of you, have any of you heard of Gallup Strengths certification? Yes, fantastic. We have heard some are new. Fantastic. It's okay if you're new. I'll share with you. But most of you may have heard of it because a lot of companies actually do it. Facebook, Accenture, Striker, companies who are like the top companies actually employ Gallup strength assessments for the employees. It's done over Fortune 500 companies. Over 23 million people has done it, and it's over 80,000 organizations. So in that picture there is the CEO of Gallup. His name is Jim Clifton. If you're a manager, he wrote one of the Wall Street Journal best-selling books called It's the Manager. It's about how you can manage your staff who are very different from you. Okay, some of you may have heard this before. Okay, great. So there will be some new content as well. So now, Jim was interesting because when I met Jim, Jim had a strong affinity to Singapore because the Lee Kuan Yew actually employed Jim to coach the cabinet. I'm surprised, like, wow. So coaching is really supportive, especially when it's backed up by science in the strengths assessment, because it is scientifically proven there's greater engagement when people know their strengths, when people know where they flourish. Okay, so now we're going to go through a game. I know some of you have not done or have not heard of this Gallup Strengths Assessment. So we're going to play a game. It needs to be interactive so that this will also support you in your learning about who you are. So I'm going to ask you a few things. Whatever you see on the screen, if you think that really describes you, that you do that very often, just type in one in the chat just so that I know, and I will explain what that means. All right? If you're ready, let's go. Now, okay, are you someone who loves to write down a list of things and stick to it, even on weekends? If you're that person, please type in a 1. I see quite a lot of 1s. Fantastic, fantastic. Me too. I love to write down a list of things, even on weekends. Now, this could likely be a strength called achiever. You have to do the strengths assessment, but it could likely be that you have this strength called achiever. Strengths are our innate nature. It is how we think, feel, or behave. And by utilizing how we think, feel, or behave, we can maximize our potential. So for achiever, you are driven by tasks, which is great. However, very often, every strength has a good side and a bad side. However, for achiever, very often your list of things you do, you probably cannot finish everything that you do. That's why my encouragement for you, for achievers out there, when you write a list, perfect, but prioritize it, just so that you get the things that's important to you up front first, especially things like spending time with family, if that's important, because very often when we write a list of tasks, we forget about what's important to us. Okay, so are you someone who absolutely love attending different courses and programs, like hand-holding, learning different things, regardless of what the subject matter is? If that is you, please put in a 1. Fantastic. I'm sure there will be a lot of learners here. That's why you're here today, to learn. So this is related to learner. So this is a beautiful strength. Learner loves the process of learning. But my encouragement to you is, learners always feel that there's more to learn, that they may struggle in execution, or may struggle in stepping up to teach. But learners are possibly the best people to teach because they have gone through the process. All right. Are you someone who seek out familiar people in a party? That, for example, if you go to a networking event, you will scan the room. I'm like that, and I look for someone I know and I hit straight to that person. If you're that kind of person, can you please put in 1 in the chat? Can you please put in 1? Fantastic. All right. So what happens is that you are likely to have a strength called relator. I have that strength too. So relator are people who believe in deep, meaningful relationships. We're not into small chats. You know, we just want to get to know a friend and get to know this person better and deeper. Now, that's the good side, because relators are actually, a lot of people trust relators. You may find that people will open up to you very easily because you have built that trust. However, in networking functions like this, when you zoom straight to the particular person, relators can be perceived, it may not be you, it can be perceived as antisocial. So just be mindful to meet and greet people around you as well. Yeah. So are you someone who loves to talk to people in elevators, airplanes, or wherever you go? You're the one who loves to, you know, talk to people, even strangers. If you are that, can you type in a 1? Okay, so there's always, this obviously is related to a strength called communication. Now, communication is a great strength. However, people with communication, the bad side of it is you may not be comfortable with silence. However, for people like relators that you see, we may need more time to warm up. So be comfortable with silence and allow others to speak. Okay, so are you someone, I love this one, who loves to watch a movie, and before the movie has ended, you have already figured out the plot? If you're that person, can you put in a 1 in this chat? Oh, fantastic. Oops. Fantastic, fantastic. That is a strength called strategic. Strategic are very goal-driven people. We scan for the goal. So basically, we are motivated by reaching the goal. It doesn't matter which path we take. Strategic people have the ability to overcome obstacles which are not very visible to others without this strength, and to reach the goal. So that's the good side of it. If you're managing someone with strategic, don't micromanage this person. They will feel stifled. What you need to do is to actually give them a goal and allow them to have flexibility, the alternative path to reach the goal. Yeah, so that's strategic. And are you someone who needs to compete, who needs to pick someone to race? If that's you, just type in 1 in the chat group. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a very powerful strength as well. And you would have guessed it is competition. So if you are someone who with this strength, what works for you is to, you know, go into group competitions, or if you're managing someone like this, what will be good is to, you know, arrange for group competitions, just so as to you know, push yourself further. However, the bad side of it is that competition people are sore losers. So just be mindful, perhaps the best person you need to compete with is yourself. Yeah. Okay, should be the lucky last. Are you someone who loves to push the elevator button or the traffic light to remind the elevator you are there? If you're that person, can you put in the 1? I'm guilty of it. I'm definitely someone who does that. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, I see a few ones. All right, this is related to a strength called activator. So activator are people who love to roll up our sleeves and start. We do not need details. We are very good entrepreneurs or project starters. We do not need details because we believe that as we move, the details, the things will take shape. So we love starting things. However, the bad side of it is we may have difficulty sustaining things. So we have to constantly look for new projects to start. Or we can be sometimes perceived as impatient, because for us, we want to start straight away because we believe we will figure it out. But there are people who need to figure it out before they start. So when an activator meets another person completely opposite, that's where, you know, that could be clashes. Think about, you know, the clashes you have at workplace. Perhaps it's just a difference in personalities. So, so have you noticed that regardless of all the strengths that we've seen so far, that we have different people typing in 1 in different strengths? Do you know that it is 1 in 33 million chance of someone having the same strength as you? How powerful is that? It literally means that you are very unique, which is why sometimes, I don't know whether you've encountered this. You are, you know, seeking for clarity, you're asking different people, you're asking your family, your friends, but the more you ask, the more confused you get. You know why? Because everyone's wired differently. And, you know, you look at things this way, someone else looks at things this way. And if you keep asking outside, externally, you could literally get confused. So my encouragement to you is, just like the case study I had with the business, and even for personal clarity, the first thing we need to do is that clarity comes from within. when we find the clarity within, when we know who we are, then we will not be swayed that easily. Especially now, social media, you see, oh, wow, this person is doing that. Oh, LinkedIn, this person is doing that. Oh, what should I be doing? Sometimes we get caught up in comparing, and that's not healthy, you know, in terms of causing the anxieties and worries that we have. And it's not a space that we own. So my encouragement is, if you do want to reach higher, whether you love your job, if you want to reach higher, or you want to transit, I encourage you to dig deeper. Think about, I know it takes some time, but once you've got it, decisions will come a lot quicker. So it is a process, yeah? So let me share with you some possible previous influencers and their strengths, just so that you can identify with what possible strengths, the descriptions of each strength. Have you heard of Martin Luther King? Okay, put in the chat if you know what's his famous speech. Yes, yes, you've heard of. What is his famous speech? Okay, I have a dream, fantastic. So I have a dream is talking about things in the future. So I believe Martin Luther King has this strength called futuristic. Whether you like it or not, we have to influence. So that's why we're looking at influencers now, because you have to influence in your career, you have to influence in your workplace. So we're looking at how can you influence according to your character. So these are some examples. So Martin Luther King talks about the future. I have a dream, and he influenced many by casting a vision. As we said earlier, the qualities of a leader, I remember seeing vision as well, casting a vision. He has this strength called futuristic. Yeah, so the next person, I'm sure you've heard of, Mother Teresa. Now, Mother Teresa is quite different from Martin Luther King, isn't it? Mother Teresa is very quiet. She is of complete different style with Martin Luther King, but did she influence the world? She did. So I believe she has a strength called restorative. Now, restorative strength is very unique. There are people who are wired to look at problems and they want to restore it. Then they will think of solutions. And that's what Mother Teresa did. She went to India, she found a problem, she fed the poor. And because she kept solving problems, people would trust her with money. Did you know she raised hundreds of millions for her cause? And she influenced very differently. She influenced with her action. Martin Luther King influenced with his message. So understanding how you are wired allows you to influence naturally the way you are. It's not comfortable for you to try to be someone else when you actually have the ability to influence in your own way. So have you heard of Richard Branson? I believe Richard Branson has a strength called ideation. So he's someone who has lots and lots of ideas. You know, he's created a lot of businesses, whether it's he even had Virgin Coca-Cola before, he had Virgin Airlines, he had Virgin Mobile. So they're all very, very different businesses and ideas, but he will surround himself with people who can execute his dreams. So understanding your strengths allows you to possibly reach your goal, but maybe very differently. Instead of Richard Branson doing the business himself, he would pass to people who can execute his ideas. So then understanding yourself will allow you to surround yourself with people that will support you towards your goal. And lastly is Indra Nui. I'm not sure if you've heard of Indra Nui. If you have heard of Indra Nui, please type in a 1 in the chat. Indra Nui is actually Patricia, you've heard of Indra Nui, fantastic. So, okay, fantastic. Cynthia, you've heard of it, Javish? Yes, Indra Nui is considered one of the top 10 influential women in the United States. She's the first Asian and female CEO for Pepsi Coca-Cola. And she has made such a huge difference in the company by increasing the revenue many times, improving the company. And I believe she has this strength called focus. So she did share in one of her speech previously saying that she had focused so much on the career that she felt that she's neglected her family. So like I shared with you, every strength has a good side and bad side. So when you want to redesign your clarity, think about the possible blind spots to be aware of, just so that you can actually reach your goal, but have the quality of life that you want. So this next quote is actually from Indra Nooyi herself. She said this, not me. She said that an important attribute of success is to be yourself. Clarity is not a fluffy matter. It has become a necessity. If you want to shine, never hide what makes you you. I hope this encouraged you. And then as I researched all the different influencers, I noticed this one thing. Clarity comes from within. Yeah, so clarity comes from within. We all have a different formula to where we want to be. So the how to success literally depends on who you are. Especially for the learners, yes, go and pick up the learning as much, but remember, adapt it to your style, because the how to success literally depends on who you are. Mother Teresa cannot be, talking like Martin Luther King. That will not work. So how do you have a roadmap to your success? Before you have a roadmap to your success, you need to first understand who you are and then plan an action plan that works for your personality, that works for what you love and who you are. I hope that encourages you. And I just want to share with you this thing. How many of you realize, when I first started my career, I thought that all I need to do was to work hard. How many of you realize working hard is not enough? I coached this lady, Tanya. She's a fire system designer. So she worked in this company for 10 years. Yes, Satya, yes, Thuyseng, yes. Working hard is not enough. She's worked faithfully for this company for 10 years, but yet for years she felt undervalued. And I spoke to her and gave her some aspects on understanding her value. Or what? Every time I work hard, the rest of my life falls out of balance. You have to work hard, but you need to work hard in all aspects of your life, just so to achieve the goal, right? Okay, it's balance. It is hard. It is hard. Yes, I agree, absolutely. So, but let's see, we all have to balance. So let's find the most efficient way for us to be able to balance and work hard. But again, working hard itself is not enough. Absolutely, Josephine, working hard itself is not enough. She didn't see her value. So you can be working hard, but if you don't see your value, it's very hard to rise. So after talking to her and sharing, obviously I come from a negotiation background, coming from procurement, taught her how to negotiate with her manager. And with, I think, less than 2 months, she received a 30% pay rise and a scholarship. So think of it. Think of it. You can work hard for the rest of your life. Or you take 2 months to understand your value. How long would you take to get that 30 pay increase if you just continually work hard without understanding your value? Yeah, to think everyone needs a mentor. Absolutely. Everyone needs a mentor. I have a mentor as well. I have a couple of mentors in different areas of my life. So Tanya was so happy that now she's happy working in the place. I mean, she's worked there 10 years. Initially, she felt like it was unfair, but finally, interestingly, because of the pay raise, because of the scholarship, because she understood her value, she's now enjoying her work a lot more. Isn't it a better deal? You get pay raise, you're enjoying yourself a lot more. So that's the power of clarity, and that doesn't cost a fortune. Absolutely. Think of the benefit you may have. So I do coach a lot of people who wants to transit into a different career, and I saw that there are quite a lot of people already transiting or exploring, and there was a group of people who wants to transit but do not know what to do. So how do I know what is my passion? So how do I know what is my passion? I get asked this very, very often. So I'm going to share with you a model, which is, but before that, to me, clarity is just like going to an optometrist. All of us have different prescription, correct? So there's not one formula to clarity. So have you been to an optometrist before? When you want to prescribe your lens to be able to see more effectively, what is it? Have you experienced him, you know, putting the lens in and taking it out and asking you which is clearer, in or out? Let me ask you, can you put it in the chat? Who decides when the optometrist asks you, is it clearer with the lens or is it clearer without? Who decides? Fantastic, CY, yes, you decide. You decide. Then what happens? You've decided, you prescribe yourself a pair of glasses, and then you go out. There could be two things that could happen, right? Once you decide, you go out, it works perfect. You see better and it works perfect. That's great. But sometimes when you go out, you may have a headache. You have a headache. So what do? You go back to the optometrist and say, hey, I wore this glass, I have a headache. Can we re-prescribe the lens again, right? It's not a big thing, but a lot of us are stuck in just making the decision. Can I share with you something that I hope this takes away the stress? Your vision, clarity is vision, your vision is proven perfect by your movement, not by your decision. How do you know you had a good lens? It wasn't in the room. It was outside, going out, doing natural daily life that you realize whether it's the right lens for you. Similarly, if you see something really far away and it looks very, very blur, what do? In the natural, we will walk towards it to look at it, right? But a lot of us, when we're looking for clarity, we just go through our daily grind and hopefully pray that clarity will come. It doesn't happen this way. My encouragement is yes, you decide. You get to decide and you get to design. And when you walk it out, what's the worst thing that can happen? If it doesn't fit, choose another option. It is fine. But you need to walk it out to actually test if that's perfect for you. So my encouragement for you is to just take the step, whatever your heart feels like. There is a lot of teachings outside that says that you need to know your purpose and then you can set goals, which is true. But the world is moving so fast now, sometimes our purpose will unfold as we take a step forward, as long as we listen to our heart. Because it's the heart that makes us satisfied. So my encouragement is, if there's some passion you want, take that sacrifice. After work, try it out, do something. And if you like it, you're willing to pay the price and you enjoy it, then this is something you can grow into. Let me share with you a story. I had a friend, well, it was like me, we both graduated from engineering, but halfway through the career, she really realized that she didn't like engineering or didn't like what she was doing. And she found an interest in learning and development, which was completely different. So what she did was, she actually approached the manager and said, hey, I'm interested in learning development. I know I'm doing this role, but can I offer one day to help you? If there's anything, I'll help you outside of my work hours, just so that I want to test if this is something that I like, and I just like to help you. So she did that, first after hours, then next one day, then next 2 days, and then next 3 days, and then finally she pursued her Master's of Psychology, and now she's a qualified L&D. Yes. So Josephine, yes, let your movement unfold your purpose. Your purpose will unfold as you take a step. It's like, just like my friend, it's like, you have a vision, you punch your address into your GPS. For example, if you're in a car, you're going to somewhere, you have a vision, you punch your address into the GPS, right? But if you don't start the car, you're not getting anywhere. So having a vision is great, but you need to punch and say start and start moving the car, and then perhaps you can recalibrate along the way. So don't let the making of the decision paralyze you to moving forward. Just take that step and then it becomes clearer. Absolutely, Lawrence, as you move, your purpose becomes clearer. Okay, so this is similar to Ikigai, but I really don't want to take away, I took away what you get paid for, because a lot of us don't pursue our passion because we always rationalize ourselves out of it. Oh, I'm not going to be paid well, and you don't do it. But ultimately, for you to have a fulfilling life, you need to follow your passion. So I believe that your why is actually the melting point between your purpose, your passion, and your price. Let me explain to you what I mean. My friend who was doing engineering wanted to learn L&D. She paid the price of staying extra days, extra time to do the work. She was willing to pay the price. And finally, she found her why. So if you are someone who are very passionate, you talk about it all the time, you want to do it, and it aligns with your purpose, for example, making a difference, you talk about it, but you never paid the price, you never took action to do it. What does it make you? It becomes a fantasy. And you know, how many of us have, you know, a New Year resolution all this while, and if you've never done it, my encouragement is just strike it off and think of something else. Okay, I see some questions. I'll get to it shortly when I finish this diagram. So what happens if you're willing to pay the price and it really aligns with your purpose or what you want to do, but you don't like that particular task. You're not passionate about doing that particular task. So what will happen? Possibly you may feel burnout because it fits in your purpose, but it's not what you're passionate about. So in this type of environment, it is best to delegate or outsource. For example, for me, I love being a coach, I love being a speaker, but you know, things like website is really not my passion, but I need a website. It aligns with my purpose. I could do it, and I did try it. It was just painful. I got burnout. So, you know, just might as well outsource it. Likewise, managing teams, outsource the task that may suit someone else better. Now, this is a little bit tricky. If you're willing to pay the price and it is something you're so passionate about, actually it's a good thing. It could be a hobby, right? But if that takes up too much of your time, for example, playing computer games, it's great to play computer games. You need to just take time off and play computer games, that's fine. But if you play computer games to the point that it affects your work, you're waking up late, you're not having the full attention on work, that it could become a distraction. So that could, you know, my encouragement is, we did have one question that, what if you're not clear with your vision? My encouragement is feed your heart. Feed your heart. Again, your purpose unfolds as you move. So try out things first. Don't forget, it is not the decision, it is the movement. So do something like, find out what is it that you like. Feed your heart. Do something that you love so that you can tune in the voice of your heart. Yeah, personally for me, I actually was a consultant and I got myself certified as a strengths coach purely to volunteer in my church. I thought, oh, you know what? I'm single. I have the evening. I want to take my evening time to actually coach the next generation to rise up. So that's exactly what I did. I, you know, got certified just to do evening college, just to serve the people. But what happened was, as I did that, when I was driving home, it takes 1 hour for me to drive to church to do it, and then 1 hour to drive home. But when I drove home, I was so energized, and I realized this is what I love. I love seeing people's eyes light up. I love people stepping into their destiny. And that's why I realized I did not plan for it, but as I followed my heart, I realized what makes my heart sing. So don't let fear hold you back. If you have something you can feed your heart, go for it. Yeah, as long as you're willing to pay the price for it, sacrifice extra time, you're on the right track. All right, so that's about that's another story by Michelle. Michelle actually did a career transfer. She was always, you know, in investment banking. She never ran a team, etc. And she wanted to get a CFO role for a long time, but people always look at her skills and kind of rejected her. So I had to sit down with her and looked at what her value is and how she can present herself to to get her dream role. And I'm glad to say that she finally landed in the CFO role that she wanted. So everything is possible. Don't let it hold you back just because, oh, I don't have that experience. Maybe I cannot get a job because I don't have that experience. No, we learned earlier, right at the start, a leader is defined by their characteristics. They're not even skills. They are caring, they're visionary, they're empathetic. These are things that can be transferable. So don't let skills hold you back. Skills can be learned. Strengths, you're born with how you think, feel, or behave. Yeah, but skills can be learned. So don't let that hold you back. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. I know we're running a bit out of time. I do have a lot of questions about, what are the practical steps towards clarity. In my book, there's 9 steps, but I just want to share with you one step that's really practical, and I hope that adds value. The first thing we need to do is be a good steward. I know it sounds very common sense, but I really want to share with you this, yeah? All of you know the Maslow hierarchy, right? You need to be a good steward in your finance, especially if you're looking to transition into a new role. That's the first thing we need for clarity, is actually the clarity of our personal finance. Just get that sorted, because then that will give you the clarity for you to transit. Because you know that the first layer of the Maslow hierarchy is the psychological needs. So, for example, for me, when I first went to Australia, I couldn't find work. I wasn't in the position to do what I love. I have to be practical. I had to do things to earn the money. Because at this point of time, if your basic psychological needs is not met, if we talk about our glasses, right? Our glasses, it's like, making decisions with a foggy lens. You could be, have you ever experienced that if you wear a pair of glasses in an air-conditioned room, and as you step out into the steamy hot weather outside, your glass will fog up? It's the same thing. If you do not have enough finance, when you step into the heat of, lack of finance, it's very hard for you to see clearly. It's very hard for you to make decisions. So my encouragement is, see it as a season. There was a season I literally had to just work and do what I could find at hand, and at the same time learn to develop skills so that I can do my transition. I can first find my clarity and then do my transition. The journey for me took a couple of years. Okay, so the second thing I like to share, which I believe is very practical, and I hope, especially we had one person who said, oh, I have to juggle between family, children, so many priorities. And a lot of us feel that we've been taking up too much time. I would like to share with you how you can be a good steward of time. So my encouragement is to think of daily habits that will help you. A lot of people like to multitask, but multitask actually doesn't make you very productive. So think of daily habits where it comes autopilot, that really saves up your time. For example, when you wake up, when you have a daily habit, it frees up your mind to think about other things, because your mind is clear. That most of the, your exercise, etc., there are daily habits that you do. You don't even have to think about it. If you wake up wanting to think about what should I do, should I exercise or not, or things like that, that takes up your energy, and that will cause you to not be as efficient. There's one thing I want to share with you is your energy time map. I'm not sure if you've heard of energy time map, but do you know, let me ask you, okay? Do you know what time of the day you're most productive? Type in the chat, do you know what time of the day you're most productive? Yeah, so if you can, take a log of what you do each day. Morning, after lunch, fantastic, well done, well done. So think of little things. Do your energy time map carefully. When are the time you're most productive? Make sure you protect the time to do the things, the most important tasks. If your friend calls you, etc., protect that time. That's going to make you a lot more efficient. Everyone is different. You can see everyone is efficient, right? Different. So productive. The second time is, do you know when are you most creative? For example, if you need to do a PowerPoint presentation, etc., do you know when are the time you're most creative? Protect that time as well. I like you to slot in your work time that is a task that's relevant to your energy of your time map. So just so that, because it will be a lot more effective for you. Another tip, if you like, if you're doing something that you really need to concentrate, it does help if you listen to classical music or things with alpha brainwaves that helps you to concentrate and to do your task. So it's great that all of you, most of you know when you are, the timings that makes you more productive, more effective. So what I would encourage is literally be a good steward of time. If you are going through a transition, maybe you should allocate time for transition, meaning, time to explore, upskill, time to maybe you think, oh, you know what, I want to invest outside of my work. Have very specific time allocated to the different tasks that will make your life a lot more efficient because you have clarity of time. The first one is to be good steward, is to have clarity of your finances. This one is to have clarity of your time. Build up your energy time map so that you can build a schedule that literally works for you. Some people, if you're upskilling, you're transitioning to something, some people learn well on the weekend, some people learn well 10 minutes a day. So you need to know what works for you. Yeah, so this is this one tip I believe will help you. And at the end of this session, I do have some templates that it's just very basic templates that you can use. If you would like, I would send that to you as well. So that's being a good steward of time. So lastly, I just want to share with you the story. So in the picture, that is my dad. Guess how old he is? He's 85. So my dad didn't have a good time. Like he grew up in a very, very poor family. And he did his primary school only at age 12. And then he became a cab driver, and but he constantly upgraded himself and became a teacher at age 40. He is 85, that happened last week ago, and now he's still constantly learning. I don't know what you're transitioning to, or where you want to move up in your career, but I want to encourage you, never stop learning. I want to encourage you, do not hold yourself back just because of your lack of skills. Skills can always be learned. Rather, embrace who you are, find the clarity of who you are, what you want, and then work, pay that price and work towards it. And I guarantee you, if you follow your heart, if you just do the necessary things, if you understand managing your time, yourself, and who you are, you will end up in a role that you will love. And this is strength is not just a test, it's a philosophy. Always focus on what you're good at and see yourself flourish. So I believe we have so now it's time for questions. I believe we do have some questions.
I would say thanks. First of all, thank you very much. Some really great content there and some great ideas. We've had quite a few questions coming in. Let me just go through the Q&A. The first one, yeah. So from Satya, how do we decide which habits are actually good for us?
Okay, great question, Satya. How do you decide which habit is good for you? First, you need to know what you want. I don't have that slide. So basically, in terms of goal setting, we call it the clarity wheel. Let me see if I have this. I don't have the slides. So we call it the clarity wheel. So basically, a lot of us are only focusing on career. Whereas in the clarity wheel, we look at, our health, our emotions, what we want, what they call it, our finances, etc. So it's like a wheel. So a lot of us only focus on our career. So this wheel is a bit skewed. You can't roll forward smoothly. So my encouragement is to look at your clarity wheel and understand, okay, what do I want to achieve in my health? What do I want to achieve in my finance, etc. And then think about it. Like, of all these things, what are the habits I need to do? For example, health is straightforward. Like, if I want to be fit and I need to exercise. So then think about it. When is the best time for you to exercise, and create that as a habit? For example, you want to transit into a new career, you want to learn and upskill, then create that as your habit to constantly have this learning time for you to build it as a habit, so that you don't have to think. When the time comes, you just start, you get into the zone quickly enough to learn what you need to learn. Okay, I hope I answer your question. How do you know which habit is good for you? It really depends on what you want. Yeah. But in general, you can look at health and finance and your career, etc. Yeah. All right.
So we've got a few more coming through as well. Thanks. Keep them coming, guys. We'll probably run over by 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
From an anonymous attendee, how do I prevent from burning myself out?
Great question. Great question. And that really depends. I don't know who you are, but that really depends on your personality. For example, remember the first strength we talked about, achiever? Achiever are people who loves to build a long list of items, but they never finish it. Right. So you have to understand how you're wired. So people like achiever could very often get burnout. So then this is where when you realize you are burnout, let's go back to the slide. When you realize you're burnout, then let me see if I can go back to the slide. Let's go to the, when you realize you're feeling burnout, can you see this part? Then maybe look at some tasks you're not passionate about, not some tasks that you're not very good at, then seek to outsource, seek to delegate. Maybe if you're a manager, look at who in your team loves doing those tasks and delegate it to them. Yeah. So that could help you from being burnout. And another strength we did not talk about is a strength called responsibility. Responsibility are people who always say yes and will let their yes be yes, and they rarely say no. So people like this need to be aware. A lot of people who get burnout are people with responsibility, because they will say yes to everything, and they will tend to prefer to do it themselves rather than someone else doing it. So being mindful of your blind spot and perhaps taking adjustments to say, okay, maybe I need to let this go to get someone to do it. Maybe I need to learn to say no. So these are things that will come along the way, and it really depends on your strengths. So there's 34 strengths. So it really depends on your strengths, on your situation, but be mindful of your blind spots to be aware, because the greatest way for you to change is to be aware, right? Okay, so I hope I answered the question. What's the next question?
So next question, and this, I really like this one. So is a degree important? I only have a diploma, and it worries me that I can never succeed in my career because I'm unable to find my strengths.
Oh, what do you think? I failed my English and I wrote 2 books. So I don't know. I feel that there's a lot more skills that we need to learn. But if that really affects you, then take time to get that degree. Maybe it's just something that you hope to achieve. Then take some time to do part-time work, to get part-time study to get that degree. But I do not know your field, which industry you're in, whether you have mentors to help guide you or to fill you in with the gaps of what you need. But I do know that not everyone in the management positions have degrees. Not at least in Australia that I'm familiar with. And there's things like executive MBA. People skip the degree, and once they reach management, they can do their executive MBA. Remember what we did right at the start? It's all about the qualities. It's all about how you manage people. It's all about, you think about it, when you go up the career, it's always about managing people, etc., leadership skills. So I feel that if that is hindering you, it possibly could be a limiting belief that you have to work on. Yeah.
It didn't seem to stop Richard Branson. I'm pretty sure he dropped out at school. He was running his record business from a phone booth when he was still in school. So
yes.
And okay, so a couple more questions. Can you show the Maslow's hierarchy slide again? Just wondering what other factors of clarity are: finances, time, etc.
So Maslow's hierarchy here. So what I'm saying is that the first layer is very important. It's hard to transit. Say for example, you want to transit to your career. It's hard to transit when your physiological needs are not met. Just like, so at this point of time, instead of seeking of clarity of what you want to do, I rather you seek clarity of your time and for your finance. Yeah, am I answering the question?
Yeah, I think so. And a couple of other questions as well. So, so there was just a follow-up to the degree question. There's Chu Sang said that I worry the same. I have a degree that I worked hard for, but time proves certain degrees obsolete. and they're in the fashion industry. So again, I guess it's that question about how do you find something else? How do you find that clarity and point yourself in that new direction?
Nowadays, it's all about constant learning. It's not about a certificate. So I agree, like time proves certain degrees obsolete. You're in fashion, you worry the same. I think fashion is a very competitive industry. It's just like IT. You know, it doesn't matter if a person have an IT degree. It matters if he gets updated with the new software that's coming up. So as you climb up the corporate ladder, it's about you know, the more about your industry knowledge rather than your paper knowledge. That's what I believe in. So if as long as you're an expert in what you do, people will respect you for it, I believe. But if that's holding you back, just get the degree. Yeah.
Okay, a couple more questions. Is there a best way to get to know who you are? Is it meditation, journaling, traveling, therapy? So what are the trips and tips you can use to actually get to know more about who you actually are?
Yes, absolutely, Joy. First and foremost, I encourage you to do your strengths test. It helps you to understand how you're wired, because that's how you naturally think, feel, or behave. Then there's lots of things. Following your heart. I believe that a lot of us have been, you know, we live our life caring about what people think. I myself am guilty of it, and at expectations of people. Sometimes we fail to listen to our heart. So, and one way of listening to our heart is literally do the things our heart loves. It can be very simple things like your hobbies, but once you awaken that really helps you. And journaling helps a lot. I have a journaling method. I hope it takes a lot of work. You don't have to do that. A strength test could help, but if you want to, what you do is this. Okay, a journaling method is you do that for 21 days. When you have an empty journal, you write on the right side of it your day, whatever you want in the journal. Okay, and then you leave the left side blank. After you've done 3 days, you go back to the first day. Okay, and you read it as if you're trying to get to know Ruth. It's like you're reading as a third person. You're not reading it as yourself. Then as you read this journal, observe what are the things that this person portrayed, the fears, the limiting beliefs, etc. That helps you, the passion, that helps you to know yourself. There's another way I put it in exercise. I call it the 3S. So 3S, know your strengths, obviously. The second is actually know your stories. Because a lot of people's vision and passion is tied to their stories. Like, for example, if a woman has been abused, their passion would be to help support other women. If a person has successfully done his business, his passion then may be actually to help others succeed in the business. So understanding your story, how uniquely wired you are, will help. And for skills, the last S is something that you may have identified gaps, but don't worry, you can work on the skills, isn't it? It just may take some time. Other ways of finding yourself is, remember the exercise we did right at the start, the word cloud? You can even ask friends, can you give me 3 words that describe me? And ask all your friends for the words and put it into a word cloud and see what you get. And that could be you. That's what your friends tell you who you are. I hope that helps. And meditation as well. I absolutely believe in quieting down and really listening to our hearts. Mm-hmm.
So Ruth, I think you mentioned that you were going to offer up some coaching when we were talking before the session. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So let me go to that slide. So I hope you've enjoyed today. We are here to give. So first and foremost, I have a survey. I want to actually see if I have served you well. So if you put in the survey bit.ly or on the QR code, there's a survey form. Anyone who has filled in the survey, I will give you the #1 tip to clarity. This is actually shared with me by my mentor. My mentor was one person who once gave 250,000 Australian dollars to charity. So I asked him, what is one thing, if you're going to share with me one thing, what is that one thing I need to learn? And that will be in that link. So once if you fill in the survey, that will be something that comes with it. Within that link, there's also the template on managing your time. It's just a word template, but it gives you a structure. And also, you will find out on the tip what there's another template there. So on top of that, if you're willing to give me a Facebook review on how you felt today's session went, I will select 3 people who have given me Facebook reviews to provide a one-on-one coaching. This is absolutely free. This is my way of giving back in this community. I absolutely love what we're doing here. I would love to give you a 30-minute coaching, but that does not include your strengths assessment. You have to pay for your strengths assessment yourself, but I'm happy to give you a 30 minutes unpacking your strengths, sharing with you the goal that you already have in you. So if you'd like to be in touch, this is my Facebook and my website.
Thanks for that, Ruth. That's some really great answers to some really tough questions there as well. So guys, following this event, I will be in touch with Ruth and we will share some of the things that you saw today. I know there was a mention on one of the questions around can we share the template? So I'll have a chat with Ruth after this. There will be an email going out to you all within the next couple of days. It will contain some of the information that was contained here. It will contain a link to the survey page in case you missed it while you're currently looking at the QR code and the Facebook links there. It will also contain a replay of the video that you've seen today, and with obviously some great information. If there's any more questions, we've got a number of events actually coming up in the next few weeks, and also in the email that we send out, it will show you the next 3 events that are coming up with AIM. It'll also give you the opportunity, if you really feel like mentoring might be a passion for you, or you feel like giving back and want to volunteer, there'll be some links in that email as well, so keep an eye out for it. Lots of valuable information there. So thank you very much for your time, Ruth. Most important, thanks for your time. Some really, really great content, some great answers to the questions, and thanks for making yourself available. And yes, we'll be in touch, and we'll see you soon, hopefully at the next event with UNACOV. Thank you very much for your time, guys, and have a great evening.